It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. Get some for all your summer parties, for your 4th of July celebrations, and drink responsibly. Now, the Yankees limped into Citi Field. We know that. They've been banged up. They have not been playing well. But they left with their tails between their legs. They were whacked out of town by this surging Met team, which has turned June into a monster month. I mean, let's start with the Yankees. The Yankees, on June 14th, opened a 3-game set in Boston, behind heel, and pounded the Red Sox 8-1. It was just another night in what had been a wonderful start. The Yankees hadn't had a blip all year. They pitched brilliantly, even though Cole wasn't there. They had the 2 Wonder Boys in the lineup who had just been putting up, brilliant numbers. And the Yankees were not looking back. Since then, they've lost 8 out of 10. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost 6 out of 7. In their previous 10 games, they had allowed 30 runs. In their last 10 games, 8 of 10 losses, they have allowed 78 runs. Nobody could touch Heel's fastball. The OPS against it was the lowest in baseball until his last 2 starts. Now, they seem like they have solved it. They didn't pound them last night, but they look like they have solved it. And the Mets right now are a tough team to deal with because they are scoring runs. They lead the majors in runs scored in June. They are at the top of every offensive statistic. They are hitting the ball out of the ballpark. They lead the majors in OPS in June. And they have the best record in baseball in June at 15-6. They are back to the 500 mark at 39-39, and they have jump-started their season. Give them credit. So, 2 big stories going in completely different directions. The Yankees, after a wonderful, magical start, have hit the skids. Stanton's hurt. Rizzo's hurt. Torres is on the bench mysteriously. If that groin was such a problem, why he didn't run the first the other night? He didn't come out of the game. Went to the bench for what they called a mental day and a physical day, but let's be honest. They put him on a bench because of the fact that he didn't even run. He's been awful, and he didn't even run out the ball that he hit the short in his last at-bat. I would have done the same thing. Now, they decided to talk about his groin. They could have just put him on the bench and said, you know what, we put him on the bench because he didn't hustle. And he better straighten his head out because that is what needs to happen. Verdugo hasn't been the same. He did finally get a couple of hits last night, but he hasn't been the same since he crashed into the wall. He's playing every day, plays a good outfield, but he's been in a terrible slump since then. He did finally come out of it a little bit last night, but he doesn't have an RBI in his last 30 at-bats. LeMahieu's slugging at 178. They came to Citi Field, and the Mets would have been just fine to walk Soto and Judge every time around. In fact, they pitched to Judge. They pitched to Soto in a couple of spots. They pitched to Judge in a couple of spots. And what did Judge do? He had a grand slam in one night, a double, RBI double the same night, and then last night hit another home run. He's got 30 home runs already. Soto's been brilliant. Judge has been otherworldly. The rest of the Yankees of late have been putrid. Their pitching has hit the skids. Cole isn't ready. Heel has maybe hit a wall. We don't know. Remember, he has never pitched that many innings in a year. He started off electrifying this year, but he has come flying back to earth. The Yankees have to take a big, hard look at where they are right now. Now, the biggest thing that's happened for them, though, the biggest advantage for them is that the Orioles have hit the skids at the same time. Exactly the same time. So the Yankees are still in first place. They both have 30 losses because the Yankees have lost 8 out of 10. The Orioles have lost, 4 out of, they're 4-6 in their last 10, and they just come off a 5-game losing streak. Red Sox are the ones that have picked up momentum. I don't expect them to get to the top of the division, but, they were way out. Now they're only 8 out. 7 in the loss column. As they have moved 6 games over 500. Even Tampa Bay is now within hailing distance. So things have changed, and the Yankees need to take a hard look at where they are right now and who they are right now, because you know what? This has told them we are not complete as we go to Toronto. We need help. We need to make moves. We might need a quarter infielder who can hit. We need a guy in the back of the bullpen. And who knows? We also might need a little boost in the starting pitching. So things have taken a dramatic turn for the Yankees to the negative side. Doesn't mean they're not going to the playoffs. Doesn't mean they aren't going to go anywhere. Doesn't mean that their dreams have been destroyed. What it means is that they have come crashing back to earth. They are back to reality now. They are not a juggernaut. And if you notice who is all of a sudden right there, 3 games out of the wild card, the Houston Astros, who have won 7 straight. 7 straight, playing very, very good baseball. And would you be surprised if they're a factor the rest of the way? Well, you're going to see them up close and personal because they're coming into the Citi Field on Friday night at 40-40. So as the Mets have made this resurgent run to 500, so have the Astros made this resurgent run to 500. 39-39 for the Mets, 40-40 for the Astros, and they will meet Friday night in what will be a very interesting series this weekend. And I hope no one ever talks about how the Subway Series has lost its appeal after you just saw that Citi Field, which has been empty all year, was brimming the last 2 days and has allowed the Mets to jumpstart their season. I guarantee you they're going to have good crowds against the Astros this weekend. Why? Because they're playing exciting baseball. They're playing really good, aggressive, offensive baseball. And they are back in it at 39-39. And that ballpark had a pulse. It was alive. And it can be alive the rest of the season now as the Mets have really turned things around. Give them credit. They have completely turned things around, and they have done it with their offense. So these two teams, the Mets have been an afterthought the first half of the season. The Yankees have been a juggernaut, and now the Mets are surging and the Yankees are slip-sliding away. But we haven't even reached the All-Star break. We're halfway through the season. There is a lot of season to be played. But this season has taken a very different angle in June. Now, the other story has been the Knicks, who made the big trade with the Nets, got Bridges. I still can't believe they did. And the next thing they had to do was keep OG, which they did. Give them credit, and again, tremendous credit. So now you have Bridges, OG, Dante, Hart, and of course Brunson. But you also would like to have Isaiah back, but I can't see that happening. That would be too much to even ask. I think he's going to be gone. And you have decisions to make about Robinson, and I think it's a foregone conclusion you got to move Randall, but I don't know that they can do that. They're going to be one team with Randall, they're going to be another team without him. This is not to disparage him. This is about team chemistry and what you want to do with a team, and I think they are better off without him. Not that you get nothing for him. Not that he isn't a good player. I'm not trying to disparage him. It's just about what fits and what doesn't. Now, if they can trade Robinson and keep Isaiah, it would be just a brilliant move. I don't see it happening. So they have to see where they can make sure they have some size on the team and complete this roster. Now, last night in the draft, they, of course, had to do something and made a trade, which it was when you're trading for the second-round picks, I'm not that excited. But they went and drafted 2 perimeter players. Will they help? We'll see. Will they help immediately? I doubt it. You're not expecting that. This is going to be a terrific team. The question is it going to be a team that can win it all? I want to still see what the final product is. It's going to be a big-time team. Title contender is already a absolute lock. They are a title contender with the team they have now. But it can be good and it can be special. It's not special yet. It's good. OG was really important. Bridges will make an immense difference on this team. And don't worry about where the numbers go. Don't worry about how many points Brunson scores. Don't worry about how many points Bridges scores. Don't worry about how many points OG scores. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Let that play out. This is about putting the right pieces together. Two-way players who have a terrific chemistry, and that's what they are on the verge of completing. If I could have added a player to this team, it would have been Bridges. That's how perfect he fits. But in my configuration, Randall needs to go. And we'll see if that happens. We'll see how that plays out. But this is going to be such an anticipated season because they have now really set themselves up. And Boston's going to be formidable. We know that. Philly is one move away from being extremely good, but they're always going to be very much on the seesaw about whether or not Embiid is healthy. And can he give them major minutes? And can he be there in the playoff? And that's always going to be in their future, despite how good he is. That's a part of his being. They're going to have to live with that. But if they can add a third, bona fide third scorer, they are a very, very big threat. But so are the Knicks. A very, very big threat to anybody right now. I'm still stunned. I know how many ones they gave up, but I never thought the Nets would send them to the Knicks. I never thought they would. Because they know how well he fits there. They know exactly how well he fits there. And he fits there as well as Hart has fit in, as well as OG has fit in. That's how well Bridges will fit in. Maybe even better. So if that excites you, it should. It absolutely should. Because, you know what? Teams have a delicate balance. There are certain things you have to be able to do, but teams have a delicate balance. And this team has a versatility and will have a chemistry if the right pieces are in place. that will be highly unusual and very special. And you're also dealing with a versatility and a two-way factor here because they have terrific defenders, all league defenders, versatile all league defenders. So they can shut down virtually anything you present to them. They can shut it down with their defense. OG is that good and that versatile defensively. You know what Hart gives you physically. And Bridges is a tremendous defensive player. And can score on a very high level, but doesn't need to score on a very high level to be that efficient. He doesn't have to. He can let Brunson be the main scorer on the team. He can let Brunson be the guy who gets 27 points a game. He doesn't have to do it. And they don't have to have anybody who does that. They could have a lot of guys who average at a certain level. And you know what that's going to look like? That's going to look like a team many years ago that had a lot of people who could score and had a chemistry that was legendary. I'm talking about a Knicks team that people read about and maybe were unfortunate enough to see. That was one of the great teams of all time. This team could have that kind of versatility and that kind of chemistry. Chemistry, unselfishness, versatility, defensive ability. It has so much going for it right now. But how they shape these final decisions, who stays and who goes. And we're only talking about two players who could go. Randall Robinson. Isaiah's still sitting there, but I don't see them keeping him. I think the offers are going to be out of the Knicks' range. I don't think they can keep him. But if they could, it would be really, and it would be unbelievable. But I don't think it will happen. You were hoping that OG didn't leave, and now he's here. Because as we've stated so many times, Hart took him to one level. When he came here, he changed things. He elevated them an entire level. And then OG took them to another level. Because he presented more things than people even thought. They knew he was a versatile defender who could guard three positions. They knew what he could do, but they didn't know he could score the way he scored. They didn't know he would shoot the way he shot. And when you put a team of versatile, mid-sized players who can guard multiple positions and hit threes, well, maybe you've noticed that's the way the league works now. You know, it's nice to have a Jokic, but that's an unusual player who also is an incredible facilitator. I mean, maybe his best quality of all his qualities is his passing. So that makes him extremely unique. But the way the Knicks will be able to attack teams and defend teams could be very special. There's reason to be not only optimistic, to be just flat out excited about this team. I mean, these guys, it's amazing how much the Knicks have gone from being just a mess as an organization that nobody respected, an organization that nobody wanted any part of, an organization that just seemed like it could not make a right move, to an organization that doesn't make a wrong move. And not only that, develops the people they bring in to such a level that it's even surprising how efficient they become. Thibodeau has done a terrific job with this team. And the biggest thing that he's done of all, we know he gets them to play hard. We know how hard they play. You know what he asks of them defensively. You know what he expects when the ball goes up on the rim, when the ball's on the floor. Go get the basketball. The 50-50 balls are ours. That's the way they're taught to play. That's the way they play. He doesn't worry about, how many minutes they play, which is refreshing, to say the least. Because load management and what's going on in the NBA has become a joke. The NBA's biggest issue, and one they continue to have an incredible problem solving, is how to get their players on the court in the regular season. They see no advantage to playing a lot of games. Even by putting in a stipulation where you have to play 65 games to get awards, it doesn't matter. Especially to the guys who have already gotten paid and have, enough accolades they don't care anymore about accolades. And from a fan base and from a regular season appeal, it is destructive to that league. Absolutely destructive. I'd much rather see a team that wears their players out. Because do I believe that the Knicks got hurt last year because he played them too many minutes and didn't rest them enough? No. I don't. I think those athletes can push past where they push. I think they have more to give. I think they always have more to give. And I don't think he asks anything that is, in any way unnatural for them. All right, do you want a player to play, every minute in every game? No. But you know what? In the old days, guys did that for the entire season. I mean, played every minute of the game. And played every minute of every game. There were players in the league who did that. Chamberlain did that. I understand he was an unusual player, an unusual physical specimen, but, that stuff went on in those days. So I don't think that's an issue. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I think it's refreshing the way he approaches. I think it's old school, but I think it works. And you've seen that in that they bring players in, and the players all get better. Better in the system, better individually. That's the sign of a good structure. That's the sign of a smart coach. And now, Knicks aren't anybody's laughing stock anymore. The Knicks have everybody's respect and everybody's attention. Led by, of course, a player who has taken his play to such heights that it really is extraordinary. And make no bones, Brunson is the leader of this team. Bridges will have no problem with that. The question is, what about Randall if he's here? And that's why I don't think he can be here. Teams, sometimes in basketball especially, because the chemistry is such an important part of team efficiency. In baseball, you don't have to love each other to execute. You don't have to share to execute. Someone doesn't come up and help you hit the baseball. but somebody helps you score in basketball. There's a shared cooperation that has to happen. And that's why there has to be a feeling that goes through a team if it's going to be something special. And this team has the makings. It's not there yet, but it has the makings of something special. And, you make the right trade. You go back. It's about putting the right guys in the right spots and letting them be who they need to be. I'll give you the perfect example. The Knicks had collected talent. They had a center who had a lot of ability in Walt Bellamy. They had Willis Reed. Willis Reed had tremendous ability. He also was burning to be a leader. But he was playing out of position. He needed to be the center, and Bellamy was there. And he was not a comfortable forward. So they traded a talented player in Bellamy. And cleared him out. And brought in DeBusschere, which allowed them to not only deal with DeBusschere's leadership and his two-way ability, and he was a great defender, and he could bang down a perimeter shot. He would have been a wonderful three-point shooter. He and Bradley both. But what happened that was the culmination of that trade was it freed Reed. It made Reed the leader he wanted to be and allowed him to be the center he wanted to be. And the team became one of the great teams ever. Frazier and Barnett, Bradley, DeBusschere, and Reed, with a terrific bench they used to call the Minutemen, led by Cassie Russell, who was only one of the legendary college players, as Bradley and Russell both were, and came to the Knicks and subjugated their egos. They were legendary college figures who both came to a team and subjugated their egos. Cassie was, they called the arena in Michigan the house Cassie built. And Bradley was a national hero when he came to the Knicks. And never was a big-time scorer in the NBA. But fit perfectly into what they wanted to do. They can bring those same qualities now to this team with the right adjustments. Enjoy your day.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.